President Trump appears to be pulling back from his threat to close the border with Mexico. Last week, he warned that it could happen this week unless Mexico stops a surge of migrants from Central America. Today, as he met with the head of NATO, he suggested conditions are changing.
Mexico, as you know, as of yesterday, has been starting to apprehend a lot of people at their southern border, coming in from Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, and they're really apprehending thousands of people, and it's the first time really in decades that this has taken place. And so I'm totally prepared to do it. We're going to see what happens over the next few days.
The U.S. Senate's Majority Leader, Republican Mitch McConnell, said today that closing the border could have a catastrophic effect on the U.S. economy. The president also says that Republicans will not offer a plan to replace Obamacare until after the 2020 elections. He promised that today, provided, he said, that he wins re-election and Republicans win back the U.S. House. For now, his administration is asking federal courts to strike down the existing law. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee moved today to subpoena a former White House security clearance chief, Carl Klein. That is after a career White House staffer, Tricia Newbold, claimed that at least 25 Trump aides were granted security clearances after initially being denied. Republicans and Democrats sparred over the severity of the claims today.
Overturning the security clearances is a choice the commander-in-chief can make. He's the president of the United States. It's not against the law. It's not against policy. There have been no leaks of national security information.
25 people the professional staff recommended should not be granted security clearances, and this was overruled. This is a systemic crisis for all Americans, not for Democrats or Republicans or liberals or conservatives, for all of us.
Democrats want to know how the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, among others, won clearance. In Britain, Prime Minister Theresa May asked today for a further delay in her country's departure from the European Union. May said she would use the time to work with the opposition Labour Party on a Brexit deal that could pass in Parliament. Britain is currently set to leave the EU on April 12th. Algeria's state news agency reports that embattled President Abdel Aziz Bouteflika resigned today after weeks of protests. It came after the military insisted that he step aside immediately. Bouteflika is 82 and has ruled Algeria for 2 decades, but demands for his ouster rocked the nation in recent weeks. U.S. officials are talking tonight about resolving a dispute with NATO ally Turkey. The Pentagon had balked at providing Turkey with parts for U.S. F-35 fighter jets if Ankara buys a Russian air defense system. Today, Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan said he thinks the Turks will buy the U.S. Patriot missile system instead, and that the F-35 shipments will resume.
I'm very confident in the Patriot proposal that we've delivered to Turkey, its availability, its pricing, and very importantly, the industrial participation that comes along with the Patriot system. I expect they'll solve the problem so that they have the right defense equipment, both in terms of Patriots and F-35s.
U.S. officials warned that if Turkey installs the Russian air defense system, it could help Moscow learn vital information about the F-35. The Speaker of the House is advising former Vice President Joe Biden to change his behavior toward women. Nancy Pelosi said today that he should stick to handshakes as he gears up a possible presidential bid. At a Washington event, Pelosi said, quote, "People's space is important to them, and what's important is how they receive it, not necessarily how you intended it." 2 women have complained about unwanted touching by Biden. He says he meant no disrespect and will listen to the concerns. The chair of the North Carolina State Republican Party has been indicted on federal bribery and wire fraud charges. Robin Hayes and 3 others, including a major campaign donor, were accused in an indictment unsealed today. They allegedly tried to bribe the state's insurance commissioner to favor the donor's insurance companies. Police in Los Angeles say that the killing of rapper Nipsey Hussle stemmed from a personal dispute and not gang violence. They say the suspect, named Eric Holder, gunned down Hussle on Sunday outside the rapper's clothing store in South Los Angeles. The police chief pointed today to larger concerns that go beyond the circumstances of this one case.
What I'm concerned about as chief, and I know our community leaders are as well, is we've got to continue to go at this recent increase in shooting violence because it's not just a dispute over a personal matter.
Later, police said the suspect had been taken into custody. And on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 79 points to close at 26,179. The Nasdaq rose 19 points, and the S&P 500 added a fraction. Still to come on the NewsHour, the fight over President Trump's picks to fill key judicial appointments. Another reason they come, the effect of climate change on Honduran migrants. Analyzing the president's recent criticism of Puerto Rico and much more.